interview. We'll talk a little bit about that as well, but let's get to the opening statements here. This is prosecutor Trina Kay, I believe is her name. And listen very carefully to the first thing that the prosecutor says in her opening statement in the Lori Daybell case. Here we go.
So I'm going to need you to stay close to me the next couple days. Mel, too. She can't go to Utah. They're planking some kind of intervention, but want Mel out of the way, so I'm left alone. I need to come get the stuff at your house tomorrow and secure it. Lots to do. Thanks for standing by me. It's all coming to a head this week. I will be like Nephi, I am told, and so will you. Lori Daybell, the woman seated over here, wrote this to her brother, Alex Cox, on July 9th of 2019, 2 days before they killed Charles Vallow. But to understand why this is so meaningful, why this is relevant, you have to understand the context. So let's talk about it. In July of 2019, Lori Vallow was married to Charles Vallow. Lori Vallow lived here in Arizona, Chandler. Charles Vallow lived in Texas. In July of 2019, Lori Daybell was Lori Vallow, married to Charles Vallow. In July of 2019, Lori Vallow wanted to be Lori Daybell, wife of Chad Daybell. And in July of 2019, Lori Vallow wanted to keep the same lifestyle that she had with Charles. And she could get all of this if Charles was dead. She could marry Chad Daybell and become Lori Daybell. She would get a $1 million life insurance policy from Charles Vallow. She would get Social Security for herself and their son, JJ, as a child of a dead spouse. And all of this would be true if Charles Vallow was dead. So what about Nephi? Well, Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell, and Alex Cox all believed that those who disagreed with them were dark, possessed by evil spirits, sometimes called Z's or zombies. Sometimes they had names for these evil spirits like Ned. Lori, Chad, and Alex used religion, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and a story of Nephi, a prophet, who was directed by the Holy Spirit to kill Laban, to obtain brass plates and secure the long-term prosperity of Nephi's descendants. Lori used this religion and the story of Nephi as justification to kill Charles Vallow, just like Nephi killed Laban. On July 9th of 2019, Lori Vallow invoked Nephi when she messaged Alex to provide them with that religious authority to kill Charles. After months of trying to get rid of him, they were finally ready to be like Nephi. So how did this begin? We go back to 2018. Lori Vallow met Chad Daybell. You will learn that in November of 2018, that Chad Daybell came to Arizona for a Preparing the People conference. And he and others stayed at Lori and Chad's house. Charles was actually out of town with JJ. Lori and Chad acted as if there was nothing between them, but nothing could be further from the truth. By January of 2019, Lori Vallow claimed that Charles Vallow was possessed by an evil spirit that she called Ned. You will see text messages where Lori and Alex refer to him as Ned. During this trial, you're going to hear from some women who initially were close in Lori's circle. These women will tell you they met her through the Preparing the People conference. They are spiritual women within the LDS church. And initially they found Lori's spirituality infectious. But the more they listened to Lori, the more they started to find concern with what she was saying. One of them called it red flags. Lori began saying things like she didn't need to repent, that she was beyond that. And you'll hear from these women that that goes against everything that their religion follows. Everyone must repent. You will hear from Serena Sharp that in March of 2019, she attended a girls' weekend with Lori and some other women. They went to the temple, they had lunch, they did volunteer activities, and then Lori asked them to do something a little unusual. She told them that her husband was possessed by an evil spirit, and she referred to that as Ned. She told them that Charles was no longer in his body. She asked them to come together and try to cast out this evil spirit. Serena will tell you that she didn't ask Lori what would happen to Charles if that evil spirit went. She only knew that she had said Charles was already gone. She didn't know if he would come back or his body would just die. Later that month, on March 26th of 2019, Alex Cox texted his sister, Lori Vallow, and said, quote, "Ned is still alive, just confirmed." Lori responded, "It's not Ned. It's a new one. Ned is gone. No one has seen him, right? Just talk to him, question mark." Alex said, "Correct. Charles' body is alive." "What did you learn, question mark?" And Lori responded, "A lot. Still working on it. We'll call you later." As the year went by, Lori and Alex became more determined to get rid of Charles Vallow's body, whatever they wanted to call him. You will hear from Christina Atwood that she attended a gathering on June 9th of 2019. Again with Lori and some close friends, but this time Alex Cox attended. This was the first time she had met him. Christina will tell you that she heard Alex say that he just wanted to kill Charles. In fact, she heard him say this a couple times. And she heard Lori say, in response, that she had been drugging Charles, crushing up JJ's pills and putting them in Charles's protein drinks. Christina will tell you she was so disturbed by this that she actually went and confronted Lori the next day and told her that if Charles ended up dead, she would have to go to the police. That's how disturbed she was. Now, Lori, of course, said it was all a joke. What else could she say? But 1 month later, Alex and Lori created that situation to be like Nephi and killed Charles. What about Charles? You're going to learn that Charles and Lori had been together for a long time. They had adopted one of Charles's family members' children, JJ. JJ was everything to Charles. JJ was the reason Charles and Lori were still together. You'll learn that Charles knew about Lori's beliefs, that he was called Nick or Ned or some name. You will learn that Charles told a lot of people about this. And on February 26th of 2019, Charles made a big decision. He had a $1 million life insurance policy, and his wife, Lori Vallow, had been the beneficiary. He changed it. He changed it to his sister, Kay Woodcock. You will learn he did not have to notify Lori about it, and she had no idea. You'll learn that Charles desperately wanted to bring Lori back to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. You will learn that he was close with Lori's brother, Adam, and he was reaching out to him during this time period. You will hear from Adam. Adam will tell you that he himself had heard the defendant say things that were outside the LDS religion, that she was translated. Charles was possessed. He knew she was no longer following the LDS faith. Then, June 28th, Charles found out that Lori and Chad were having an affair. You will hear that he reached out to Lori about it, Chad's wife, and out to Adam Cox about it. Now you're going to hear about a lot of these things because the police executed numerous search warrants. You're going to hear that they executed search warrants on cell phone records, cell tower records, and iCloud accounts. You're going to learn that an iCloud account is basically a service through Apple where you can store everything, photos, emails, documents, whatever you want. This can be intentional, or sometimes it can be unintentional. Your phone or your computer may be saving items there without you even realizing it. You'll learn that for years, Lori Vallow had an iCloud account that was loriforstyle@icloud.com. But after Charles learned about Chad Daybell on that June 28th, she created a new iCloud account, lollytime@icloud account. Many of these text messages between Lori and others that you're going to hear about at trial were recovered from those two iCloud accounts. You're also going to learn about Charles's cell phone. The police eventually recovered it, and they were able to extract the data, look at the messages and things that had been in there. And you're going to learn about those text messages with Adam Cox from July 9th through the 11th. You're going to hear from Adam that they were talking about an intervention, about maybe recording Lori, saying these things and taking those recordings to the stake president, or just confronting the stake president about it. They didn't have an exact plan. But on July 9th, Adam agreed to fly to Phoenix to help try to talk to his sister, talk to the stake president, get her back into this faith. Ultimately, Adam flew to Phoenix on the 10th, as did Charles. Adam will tell you that he actually, when he got his reservation on the 9th from Charles, reached out to his brother, Alex. He asked to stay with him. And Alex said, sure. You'll see phone records. They had a conversation about it. But when Adam flew into Phoenix on the 10th, remember, that's after that message by Lori that he needed to stay close to her. Adam tried texting his brother. Adam tried calling his brother, and Alex didn't respond. Adam didn't know that his brother Alex had been summoned to help his sister Lori be like Nephi, that it was time to kill Charles. The text messages from Lori to Alex about that intervention that she knew about and being like Nephi show that by the evening of July 9th of 2019, Lori knew that Charles was trying to have an intervention. In that text message, remember, she said they are trying to have an intervention. She knew it was Charles and others. She also told her brother he had to stay close for the next couple days because she knew that she was going to be seeing Charles on the 11th when he came over to pick up their son, JJ, to take him to school. She told him, it's all coming to a head this week. I will be like Nephi, I am told, and so will you. A few minutes after Lori had texted Alex that message on July 9th that they were going to be like Nephi, Alex called his sister Lori, and they talked for over 56 minutes, planning how they were going to get rid of Charles.
All right. Now that's only about 15 minutes of the prosecution's opening statement. Megan Connor, you were there. First of all, how are you doing? Are you exhausted? I mean, I just have seen you online, on TV, on Ashley Banfield. You've been everywhere. Are you okay?
Yeah, it's a little bit crazy. My plane left very early this morning from San Antonio. I got here and changed my clothes, went to court, did a lunch, live recap. And then as soon as court was over, I rushed over to do my recap and then go on News Nation and then come here. So I do have food on the way. That is a good thing. I'm here with my friends, Tom and Susan. So I know that you had Tom on the other night.
What a great guy. We had so much fun. He's a wonderful man.
Yeah. And it's just good. The thing that is good about it is reconnecting with Kay. I got to meet Charles's brother and sister today. I got to meet Brandon Boudreau in person for the first time today. I got to see Rex and 3 of his daughters were there today, and so many friends and fellow podcasters who are covering the trials. So in that way, it is good. It's restorative, but it also is really draining, and it's going to be a long trial.
It isn't, but I'm so grateful that you and people like Lauren Matthias are there covering it, and thank you very, very much. Now, there's a lot to go over tonight, and we can't do it all in one sitting. But I want to talk to you about something that just shocked me. When the prosecutor said, Trina Kay, when she said, we're going to be like Nephi. And I went, what? Huh? Because I don't know the story of Nephi, but it was obviously very important because they brought it, Lori brought it up a lot in these text messages.
Yep.
And somehow they get the Nephi had the right to kill somebody to protect the Joseph Smith's golden plates, or what's the deal? How is she doing this?
Yeah, so I think it's important to note, first of all, Trina Kay is not just pulling this out of anywhere. This was referenced in the text messages that she read today, that we're going to be like Nephi. And then later, there's a text exchange between Zulema and Lori, which came out in Lori's first trial, where Lori said it was a Nephi and Laban ending. And this is something that, mainstream Mormons, members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints will be very, very familiar with. But it is the very first story in the Book of Mormon is about justifiable homicide, which, if you didn't realize that it was not a healthy religion, that should have been our first sign, right? But so many of us were brainwashed into it, so not a lot we could do about it. But I will just give you the briefest recap that I possibly can. So Mormons believe that there is a prophet on the earth today that receives revelation directly from God. And the Book of Mormon is the story of ancient prophets. And when I say story, I mean, in my opinion, it was literally made up. Mormons believe that these stories came from a set of ancient records that were inscribed on gold plates that were found by Joseph Smith. But where are the gold plates? Well, they've been taken up into heaven conveniently. So we
of course,
as often is the case, right? Things get taken up into heaven all the time. So basically the very first story in the Book of Mormon is about Nephi and his family. Nephi is considered a prophet because he followed what God wanted him to do. And so Nephi's dad had a vision. Here we go. We're starting with the vision.
Right.
Nephi's dad had a vision that Jerusalem was going to be destroyed. And so he was told by God that he needed to take his family and leave Jerusalem and go to the promised land. So Nephi's parents, Nephi and his 2 older brothers, went out into the desert outside of Jerusalem, and they started trekking towards the promised land. Well, then all of a sudden, Nephi's dad has another vision where God says, look, so they were pretty wealthy. And when they left Jerusalem, all of their precious belongings were taken over by this sort of landlord type of guy named Laban.
Okay.
And so God came again in vision to Nephi's dad and said, look, you guys left behind all your treasures. That's totally cool, except the golden plates contain the religious record. And
Mhm.
it's so important for you to have the religious record. This was like the Bible to them. It was their history of their dealings with God. And so God said, go back and go get those golden plates. So Nephi and his 2 older brothers went back to Laban. They said, hey, we're totally cool if you keep all of our valuable stuff, but we really need those gold plates. And Laban was like, no, not giving those to you. Go away, or I'm going to kill you. So they go back to their dad and they say, hey, we asked. He said, no, can we just move on with our lives? Nephi's dad was like, no, it's so important. You have to go back. Nephi's older brothers were like, nope, not doing it. And so Nephi was the only one who was brave enough, valiant enough to go back to Laban and get the plates. And he prayed to God and he said, I don't know what to do about this. We already asked. He said no. And God said, don't worry. I will make a plan. I'll make it happen.
Mhm.
So Nephi gets just outside of Laban's house and an angel appears to him and he says, look, I figured it out. Don't worry. Nephi walks a little ways and he finds Laban passed out drunk on the ground, totally passed out.
Goodness. Okay.
And the angel says, take his sword and cut his head off. And Nephi's like, whoa, dude, I'm not trying to
I think
kill
that's
people.
the exact quote. Whoa, dude.
Whoa, exactly. Am I allowed to curse on your channel?
Absolutely.
Okay. So in the Book of Mormon, there's this phrase that keeps coming up over and over, and it came to pass, and it came to pass, and it came to pass. And there was a very clever YouTuber who was not me who replaced that with, and I shit you not, and then read the entire scripture with that. So
Oh my goodness.
I say the next thing, and I shit you not, the angel told Nephi, go ahead and chop this guy's head off with his own sword. And
Oh
Nephi
my
was
God.
like, whoa, dude,
Great.
I don't think I can do that. The angel was like, it is better for one man to die than for an entire nation to perish and dwindle in unbelief. So basically they were saying, we need this religious record. It is so much better that this one person dies and we have this record so that everybody else will be religious, right?
Okay.
And I shit you not, Nephi took the sword, cut his head off,
Okay.
and then the angel said, put his clothes on and pretend to be him. So obviously, like, the clothes have got to be covered with blood. This is a gross situation. He
Sure.
was passed out drunk. Nephi could have just snuck past him, right? But no, justifiable homicide.
Right.
So Nephi puts the guy's clothes on. He pretends to be him. He disguises his voice. He goes to the servant and he says, hey, I need to get these gold plates out of the treasury. The
Mhm.
servant gives him the gold plates and he goes off. So this is the story. This is the foundational story of the Book of Mormon, that sometimes it's okay for you to kill somebody if it's for a good purpose, like if it's for something that God wants, especially if it's going to help other people to be faithful to God. And so this is the pivotal thing that I think people need to understand. If I had a title for today's courtroom drama, it would be like Nephi. There's literally a children's song that I got brainwashed with that talks about this very story.
Mhm.
And it says, the Lord commanded Nephi to go and get the plates from the wicked Laban inside the city gates. Laban was wicked.
Okay.
So Nephi's older brothers were named Laman and Lemuel. Laman and Lemuel were both afraid to try, but Nephi was courageous. And this was his reply: I will go, I will do the thing the Lord commands. I know the Lord provides a way. He wants me to obey. And then it repeats that again.
Yeah.
So this is entrenched in the Mormon religion, that when God tells you to do something, you have to be brave and go do it, even if it's something really difficult, even if it's something you think, God would never ask me to chop someone's head with a sword. But there's the story.
Okay.
Just so you know, we have those there's those stories in the Bible too. The
Yes,
same
exactly.
type of thing. And
Same type
basically,
of thing.
the justification for Nephi was like the Charlie argument.
Yeah.
You know, the Charlie. You let one person die or save thousands, you know.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Isn't that
Exactly.
like a Spock argument too, like on Star Trek? It's a logical thing. You let one
Yeah.
person die. Yeah. So, see,
It's the
I
Kobayashi Maru.
Watch that. I
the
don't know.
Kobayashi. That's it. Thank you. You watch Young Sheldon and Big Bang Theory
Oh.
too.
I'm here for all of the nerdy things. Star
I
Wars,
don't
Star
watch
Trek, I
that.
got you.
Oh.
But like Valerie Nelson says, oh, so God demanded murder, so Lori and Chad were justified. And
Exactly.
that is what the prosecutor was trying, and I'm sure she will very eloquently explain this to the jurors, that this is Chad and Lori's justification because they need to, these 1 or 2 or 5 evil people must die so the rest of us can flourish. Is that basically it?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically like, okay, if you guys are going to leave Jerusalem and the whole city is going to be destroyed, we need to preserve these records that talk about how God deals with his people, because otherwise, when you go and start your new paradise, your new promised land, nobody's going to have the history and the genealogy. And so we're going to have to start all over. Like, there's just so many holes in this for me. It's like, if God wanted to get something like that done, he didn't need to have somebody killed. He could have just made it happen another way. And he also could have just provided them with a new record when they got to their new place. Like, it just did not need to happen this way. And it's a harmful foundation for a religion that unfortunately opens the door for people already with mental illness to take these things too far. And this is exactly what we've seen. After Chad Daybell's trial, when he received the death penalty, I did a video on my channel where I listed all of the Mormons who've committed murders. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of them out there, and they're not going away anytime soon. Right now, we have Corey Richins going on trial next week.
There you go.
The Grief Mom book. Mm-hmm. And we've got the Stampin' Up murder, the Jared Bridegan case. It just continues to go on and on. These people don't want to get divorced. They think that murder is the option. That's the answer. And they find some way to justify it. It's sick and wrong and horrible.
Exactly. And this, again, is Lori and Chad's delusion. Although I go back and forth. Today, I think Lori truly is delusional. She has that religious delusion going on. And I think Chad just wanted to get his storm moving. And that was his whole thing, trying to, I don't know if he really believes it or not. He wants other people to believe it. So anyway, again, that was just 15 minutes. I thought it was a very powerful opening statement. She really drew, from point A to point B to point C, just how easy it is to line all of this evidence up. And then we had Lori's opening statement. I want to, before I play this clip, I want to know what you thought of Lori's opening statement.
Well, I mean, obviously it was very frustrating to listen to for a lot of reasons. She, of course, is always going to try to paint herself in the best light. She's always going to try and, spin the narrative so that bad things that she did don't seem so bad, and things that other people did seem worse than they were. She made mention of inconsequential little details that didn't make any difference at all, but were sort of her little digs at Charles. And then she made such a huge deal out of having tears. She took her glasses off at one point. She stopped and asked for a tissue. She made a really big deal about these tears over the incident that happened. But then later on in the day, we got to see the body cam footage where there was not only no tears, but there was actually laughing and smiling and flirting going on.
Laughing and chatting and all of that. And I had that actually pulled up here, and now I don't have it here. But again, it is unbelievable what Lori did with the. We can play some of it here. Let's see.
I do want to mention.
Yes.
Sometimes, sociopaths, narcissists, these type of people will have real tears. They really cry, but when they do, they're crying for themselves.
Right.
Exactly.
Nobody else. So sometimes they're real, but that's for themselves. Yeah.
Exactly. Let's see. I've got a little bit of that here. Hang on. Let's see. Is this? I want to play a little bit of it. And you see, you see Tylee's face, and she looks so upset, and it's just,
that was the hardest part for me today, was seeing Tylee's face.
Yeah.
And seeing how worried and upset and concerned she was. And she's got thrown into this horrible situation. And then most likely she was alone with Lori in the car for at least 45 minutes. And Lori probably gaslit her into believing Lori's narrative
Of what happened.
happened.
Right.
And I'm sure that Tylee was super confused and sad. And that really broke my heart today. That was really hard to get through.
Exactly. There, I'm going to play a little bit of it right now. Okay, so here we go. And some of this is muted too, because they didn't want Alex's narrative to get out there. This is when they're interviewing Alex, and when Lori and Tylee come up. So, and this is, I believe, this is one of the detectives.
Yes.
Yes, he has the same type.
This was Sergeant Wisbecki.
Was Becky. And they have it muted because they don't want Alex's story. There's Alex.
Decide that you needed to go over and talk to Lori Vallow.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is not Wisbecki. My fault. That's
Okay.
Robert Cranthine.
This is who?
Robert Cranthine.
Okay, Robert Cranthine. Okay, thank you. Anyway, you can see Alex there, and Alex doesn't look too upset. We're going to be talking about that in just a little bit. How Lori was trying to make this amazing point, which was so stupid. But anyway, let's continue here.
Again, it's fact finding. Really, it's who are you? And when I say who, I always like to identify them by their Arizona driver's license, because although my name is Robert, I go by Rob. So I don't want to assume her name is just Lori. It could be something specifically or longer. So I usually ask people for identification.
And that's so you can put that into your report appropriately.
Correct.
So we saw the ambulance leave. That means they didn't transport him.
Correct.
And this is the prosecution, I believe.
Did you
Yes.
learn that you actually couldn't cordon off this area the way you had initially thought because there was only one way out?
That is correct. We initially, as you can see, cordoned off part of the road so anybody couldn't just drive up to us. We later learned that's the only way that part of the neighborhood could actually exit the neighborhood. So we had to change the tape a little bit.
And then we see fire leave here as well. So
There's Alex
now
and
it's
Tylee.
just police basically at the scene.
Lori and Tylee.
Police and I think a crime scene technician.
And are you still the only person responsible for making sure that no one is talking with Alex Cox?
I am.
Okay.
Is this where you go over to speak with Miss Vallow?
Yes.
Look how upset poor Tylee is. Oh my God, that poor baby.
We could turn up the volume.
Oh, she looks like she's going to cry.
R-I. What does your middle initial stand for? Noreen. N-O. What's a phone number for you, Lori? 755?
5452.
You know, not in Santan, this is your home.
Right, right.
Gotcha. How long have you guys lived there? How long have you lived here? Oh, geez. Yeah, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, there she's just laughing.
Are you working?
And that's what I wanted to show. Okay. Her husband, who she's still married to, has been shot by her brother. I mean, you saw poor Tylee's face. Tylee looks like she's about to burst out crying at any moment here.
In this case.
It did.
And, you know, now let's see, where did it go? And it's just, oh my God, it's just so sad.
Yeah.
It is unbelievable. Come on. There we
Also
go.
get biographic.
Look at that poor baby.
I did.
Was that Tylee Ryan?
It was.
Oh my God. That just breaks my heart. And then her mom's laughing, going, welcome to the neighborhood, neighbors. Okay, and I want to just play one little other clip of Lori's, and then we're going to talk about what Lori's theory that she tries to show us, which is absolutely just disgusting. So let me share this here. It's just her starting to cry again in her opening statement.
Show that Charles screaming woke up Tylee and Alex. The evidence will show that Tylee came out of her room with a bat to protect me, her mother, from her stepfather, Charles Vallow. The evidence will show that Tylee and Charles fought over the bat, and that after a struggle over the bat, Tylee fell onto the ground, and Charles lifted up the bat to hit Tylee with the bat. The evidence will show that Alex then intervened to protect Tylee from being hit with the bat. He did not have a gun. He was not wearing a shirt. He was pulling up his jeans because he just woke up and came into the room where he heard the screaming. The evidence will show that Alex and Charles got into a physical struggle for the bat and fell onto the ground. The evidence will show that Tylee, who was on the ground, was lifted up by me and sent outside to get away from the struggle and to protect JJ, who was still in the running car, in the rental car in the driveway. The evidence will show that after this struggle on the ground between Charles and Alex, that Charles prevailed with the bat and began to come towards me with the bat as I ran away from him into the kitchen. The evidence will show that at some point while I was running away from Charles, who was chasing me with the bat, that Alex apparently retrieved his gun.
Okay, I'm sorry. I can't anymore. This is the first I've heard of this major struggle between Tylee and Charles. And during all this time, when Lori runs out of the house, did anyone think to call 911? Did Lori think to call 911? Or Tylee think to call 911? No, she took them to get shoes and to go to Burger King. This is such bullshit, you guys. It is so maddening. And she keeps saying the evidence will show. No, it won't show that. Right, Megan? I'm not losing my mind, am I?
No, you're not losing your mind. There is no evidence. There is no evidence. It's all hearsay. And this is what Lori had such a hard time with in court today.
Yes.
All of the people on Lori's witness list are her family members. She doesn't have any police officers, fire department. She has no body cam footage. She has no text messages. She has no recorded phone calls. She has nothing. She has no evidence at all. She has called her family members, likely to testify that Charles was a bad person, that he was an abuser, and that he was having an affair.
Right.
And that's not evidence, by the way. It's basically Lori told them this, and she wants them to come into court and testify to it. Well, there's nothing material. It's just like with the Brandon Boudreaux issue today. There's nothing material these witnesses have to offer. There is no evidence of this altercation. The only person in that house that is still alive is Lori. Right. There's nobody left to tell that story. And we know that in the past, there was a motion to exclude Tylee's testimony, to exclude Alex's testimony. Those motions were successful. So they can't even bring in the interviews that happened in the police station where Tylee told her version of events and Alex told his version of events, all of which involved Charles being the aggressor and Alex acting in self-defense. So none of that is going to come in. So Lori really just doesn't have a leg to stand on here.
Yeah, she does.
She must have said, let the evidence will show. And I think she probably got that from some TV show that she watched. But she's probably said that 50 times and there literally is no evidence.
We should have had a drinking game. Every time she said the evidence will show, we took a shot, we'd all be plastered. But here's the problem. Go ahead. I
was going to say, just for fun, I made a bingo card for my Patreon members today. It's over there. You can become a free Patreon member and get the bingo card. I think it's already full. I think we've already done it. I had things on there like Lori's size, prosecution shuts down her argument, she objects correctly, I think we're done already after day one.
It's all, you're right, it's all over. But yeah, and again, when I suggested, did Tylee call 911? She was a smart enough kid that if there was really something horrible like that going on, she would have called 911. She would have overridden her mother, I believe, and called 911. What I was suggesting was there wasn't anything like that going on. There's probably yelling and screaming, on Lori's part, and but there was no fighting going on. And
well, Kay made a really good point today in her opening statement. Her point was that Lori and Alex needed a reason for Charles to stay in the house. They knew Charles was coming to the house to pick up JJ, and they needed a reason for him to stay there. The reason was Lori took the cell phone. Charles asked for it back. She refused to give it to him. There's sort of this narrative that Lori, was being chased by Charles, or at least that he was following her around, continuing to ask. She refused to give it to him. And that was what kept Charles in the house and created the opening for this entire situation to happen. Do I believe there was a struggle with the baseball bat? Not really. I think Tylee might have brought the bat out, but if she did, that was of her own volition. It wasn't part of the original story. And then Alex and Lori kind of had to pivot. And the other thing that Trina Kay did so great is she pointed out all the ways that Alex made all of these mistakes after Lori left the house. Mm-hmm. And she laid it out perfectly. I think she did just an excellent job of telling the jury the story of this. And now she's going to show it with the evidence.
Exactly. And there is, like you said, there is no evidence that Lori can bring that will show that any of this happened. And today she was trying to get a witness to talk about what Alex said. And the judge just kept saying, no, that's hearsay. You can't ask that. And it was so frustrating. And again, today with Brandon Boudreaux, that's why they were so late, in case you were wondering. Brandon Boudreaux was in the courtroom, correct me if I'm wrong, and Lori was saying, well, I've called him as a witness. And he's like, well, and the prosecution is saying, well, Lori, we've not interviewed him. What do you mean you've called him as a witness? He hasn't even been subpoenaed. And they were trying to decide if he had anything relevant, and he didn't. So he was allowed to stay. And she's going to try and get in this story that she has made up about Tylee being attacked by Charles and about herself being attacked by Charles. And it's not going to fly because, like you said, Lori's the only one alive. And I'm sure Trina Kay will bring that up. Out of everybody that was there that day, Lori is the only one that is still alive. Now, one thing that Trina Kay brought up was that when Alex came out, he had his sunglasses on his head. And if he had been in this big scuffle, how could have... Now, what I read somebody posted, well, maybe he just grabbed them and put them on his head because he was heading outside. I don't know. That just seems like... I'm sorry. It's so... Again,
no, that definitely doesn't track. And it's actually something I had never thought of before until she brought it up today. But the whole point is that supposedly there was this, like, he woke up, there was lots of noise going on, there was a big altercation, they were grappling with this bat. At some point he gets hit on the head. He shoots Charles, he goes and puts the gun back, he comes back and calls 911, and the whole time those sunglasses are there. He's got a laceration on the back of his head.
Yeah.
At no time did he touch the laceration. And there was no blood transfer, is what Trina Kay was trying to say. There's no blood. Alex's blood is nowhere to be found in the house. Mm-hmm. He never touched it. The sunglasses are sitting there. There's no blood transfer anywhere. So that story just doesn't hold water for me.
Yeah. It absolutely doesn't. And you have to wonder, where did he get that little bump on the back of his head? Was that already there? Did he give it to him pre-argument? Because, like, what do you think?
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's lots of different theories out there about what happened. Some people have said they think Lori fired one of the shots or fired the second shot. I don't think that's true. Right. I don't think Lori fired either one of the shots. No. But I will say they did bring up the baseball bat today. I don't think that Charles hit Alex with the baseball bat. If that had been the case, Alex would not have gotten up.
Alex wouldn't have a head. He literally wouldn't have a head.
They made sure to bring out that Alex had no cognitive impairment. He wasn't off balance in any way. He was not acting as though he had a concussion. if he had gotten hit hard with a baseball bat, he would have had signs of those types of things. Also, how does a baseball bat cause a laceration that bleeds? That's
It
just
doesn't.
ridiculous. That's not what it was. An
Yeah.
aluminum baseball bat. There was nothing on it that would have caused a laceration of any kind. I think it was self-inflicted. I honestly think that that was one of the things that he did in those 48 minutes before he called 911. You know,
Yeah.
he had to put the gun back in the room. He had to place the baseball bat correctly, which he failed at. He had to cause this wound to the back of his head. And at some point, he probably went outside because he put his sunglasses on and
Exactly.
then went back in
Yeah.
the house, called 911, and then came out holding the phone, sunglasses on, hands up, having never touched this wound back here.
You know, also, I think because, you know, I feel they planned this. It was an
Yeah.
ambush. So in
Allegedly.
regards, yeah, it's in regards to Tylee with the bat, I think they primed her. I think
Probably.
Lori told her things like, "Oh, he's really mad. He's going to come over here. He's been threatening me. Be ready."
And
Stuff like
threatening
that.
you, Tylee, threatening
Yeah.
you. So be careful.
Yeah.
So she's
Yeah.
terrified. That's a
Yeah.
great suggestion.
Well, I
Yeah.
think that Lori had engaged in a very long campaign to alienate
Mhm.
Tylee against Charles. I don't
Yep.
think this was like a recent phenomenon. Lori mentioned in her opening statement today that when Tylee became a teenager, that was when the relationship between she and Charles became tumultuous and even got physical at one point. I don't believe that at all.
Mm-mm.
I think that Lori probably alienated Tylee from Charles little by little, telling her things like, Charles doesn't like this about you. He doesn't like it when you do
Exactly.
that. I
Yep.
think she instigated arguments between the two of them. And I think this was an extension of that as well. And I think that's a really good point, insightful one. They probably did prime her and say, hey, Charles is coming over tomorrow. He's been really hostile towards me. He's, probably going to cause a problem tomorrow. Just be aware something bad might happen.
Exactly. So she's all ready. A lot of people in chat are asking, Megan, Lori countered the prosecution's claim regarding Charles being left-handed. She said he played the bat right-handed. Do we know which one is true?
Yeah, absolutely. That he was left-handed and he batted left-handed, and Kay confirmed that today. I talked with her after the proceedings were over today, and she confirmed she knew that was the case. She also reconfirmed it with one of Charles's good friends that he'd known since first grade, reconfirmed it with Charles's brother. They knew for sure he was definitely left-handed. He definitely batted left-handed. Lori is incorrect.
Yeah, and see, I'm sure Lori never even thought of that and
Yeah.
just assumed, like everybody, that he was right-handed. And
Well, this is one of those manipulative things that people like Lori do, is that they will put this narrative out there and they'll sound really convincing and they'll sound as though they have good evidence for this. There is such a thing as a southpaw, somebody who pitches right hand and bats
Yes.
left hand or vice versa, right? So that is a real thing. The problem is that wasn't Charles.
Yeah.
Exactly. Somebody asked this question. We actually talked about it one night, and we don't have time to go into it. But somebody asked, and I apologize, I lost it. Do you think that Alex had anything to do with his sister Stacy's death?
Oh.
And we've talked about that, and we'll go into that another night because we're going to have you back on. But let's, insightful one, make a note, my darling, and to ask Stacy about that, because that's a very, very
Ask
interesting
Megan
story.
about that. Yeah.
Who did I say? Ask who? What? What am I
Stacy.
saying? I'm
Too
sorry.
many Stacy's, too
Yeah.
many Megans and
Yes.
Megans.
Way too many. Way too many.
I will send you a clip on that, actually, because the
Good.
first time I told that story in public was on my Mormon Stories podcast
We'll
interview.
send that. That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, it happened back during Lori's first trial. Lauren interviewed me, Lauren Matthias of Hidden True Crime. I didn't feel really comfortable revealing all the details of that story at the time. But then the more that I thought about it and the more that I listened to the narrative that was happening in public, I was like, people need to know this story. It's a really important story. And people in the family disagree with me, but I was literally the only person who was there. So anyway, I'll send you a clip to it. I think it's important for people to understand it.
That'd be very
Yeah.
good.
And like you said, we went in depth into it on the show one night. If I can find it, we can share that as well. But Megan's clip would probably be the best.
That would be great. I do want to talk about last night, and I'll put this link up in the description. Lauren and Dr. John had Colby on. Colby is Lori's oldest son, her only surviving child. And he really opened up last night because Lori gave another interview to a Phoenix station where she seemed normal. I mean, if you didn't know Lori and you were watching her for the first time, she was calm, she was coherent, she wasn't giggly, she didn't get mad, she didn't lose it. And I want to quote what he said here, what Colby said about his mom, that Lori is like one of those gorgeous, beautiful frogs that you see in the Amazon. It's all colorful and beautiful and put together, and they're very poisonous. They're beautiful, but and that's the way she is. And he said, that's the Lori that I remembered. Now, the other thing that he said, which I found very interesting, Tylee had pancreatitis. And you get that through, I believe, through your diet. And Colby said he was a chubby kid, and I'm totally paraphrasing here. In fact, Insightful One, could you find that interview and post it in chat in case people want to click on it right away so they don't have to wait till we put it up in the description. It's with Colby Ryan from last night with Lauren and Dr. John on Hidden True Crime. And in it, he said that his mom was always feeding him junk food, but yet she was going to the gym. She was healthy. She had the flat stomach and the abs and was always promoting health. But they were both chubby. He said they were both chubby because she just fed them junk food. It was a way to control them. Yeah. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I absolutely believe that. And I know that there is this concept of the devouring mother. It's a Jungian psychological concept where a mother cannot allow a child to outshine her. And so she deliberately keeps her children small. She deliberately sabotages her children so that she can remain the most important one, the most beautiful one. And I really think that she participated in keeping Tylee sick. Allegedly, I'm going to say, but I really believe that Lori just saw Tylee as competition, especially as she got a little bit older. Mm-hmm. And I can identify with this. There were some dynamics like this in my own family as well. There was a lot of body shaming that went on. And unfortunately, part of it is part of the Mormon religion, where we as young women are told that we are walking pornography if we don't cover up our shoulders, right, etc. So there's a lot of body shame built into the religion, but there's also in the Cox family that really elevated value that they put on physical appearance and looks and everything. So I think, unfortunately, that Lori was complicit in sabotaging the health of her children because she wanted to remain the one who got all the attention.
And she did. And I've always said I thought Lori was beautiful. And if you look at her in the Mrs. America contest, total six-pack abs, the whole thing. And according to Colby, that's exactly what she did. They were just always eating sugary cereals but Janice Cox too, her mom was a really pretty lady. And I know this family. I don't know them personally, but I've been around families like this my whole life. She had that sun-kissed California, Janice, the mom, sun-kissed California look with the blonde hair, totally tan all the time. Great body, and they put that on their kids. You had to be cute and good looking, and they really made it a thing in the Cox family, right?
Yeah. Yep.
It was absolutely terrible. So anyway, that's what Colby was talking about, was just how his mom manipulated their diet. So they would always be chubby, and Lori would always be the good-looking, strong one. So anyway, back to the trial. Tomorrow, Lori is going to do a cross-examination. She said it's going to be a long one. I believe it's with one of the fire chiefs, and that when the firemen got there, I guess the paramedics, one of them did start the CPR, and it was obvious that nobody had done CPR on Charles, even though Alex said he did. What I don't get is how they thought they could get away with that. Well, let me back up. I'm going to answer my own question. as I'm screaming at my computer screen at what Lori's doing and saying, I have to keep reminding myself that Lori truly believes that she has Jesus Christ on her side, literally, that he is there helping her and protecting her. I think that's probably one of the reasons why she's not as prepared as she should be. She's just thinking, well, Jesus will take care of me. Jesus is here with me. Chad says Jesus is here with me, and I know Jesus is here with me because I see Jesus. I talk to Jesus. And so she's thinking Jesus is going to jump in and save her. Am I losing my mind, Megan?
No, I think that's part of what her narrative is. You know, that's what she's put out there in the public so many times. I think she really does believe, you know, that interview that she did where she seemed kind of normal. She really did talk about that, how she believes that she's on a mission to help these women who are in prison. It's just the next part of her delusion. She can't admit what she has actually done. It's too painful, too difficult, too horrible. And so she makes up these narratives that help her feel better about what she actually did.
Exactly. And that's, in that interview. And again, I'll post it in the description. But poor Colby, he was doing a live while he played bits of that interview, and he got zapped by YouTube for copyright, which is crazy because in the fair use policy, if you're playing a video, you can play it and talk about it. But for some reason, he got zapped. So I'm not going to play it. But
well, I actually did. I did an episode on this as well, and I
just a few seconds of it, didn't you? Like every time you talk.
I played it on 1.25 speed. I played just a few seconds at a time. I didn't get a strike, but they did demonetize my video. And when I looked into it, they basically said that their channel is monetizing it, so my channel can't also monetize it. And so it's not really, and I don't know about what happened on Colby's channel, if his was truly a strike or if they just demonetized him, but they did the same thing. So I just said, you know what, I'll just do it on my Patreon so it's not public, and then we won't have a problem.
I thought, and I could be wrong, I thought they like turned him off. Like
somebody did say that. Somebody said that his live stream got turned off in the middle of the show.
So I'll tell you what, that TV station, they were on it. They didn't want anybody playing that but themselves. So anyway, but in this interview, Lori talks about, like you said, how now she is on a mission to save these women, you know, that need dental work, and, you know, these innocent women, and she's there to help them. And that's part of what Jesus wants her to do. And she, talking to her, if you didn't know her, you would believe what she's saying. Like, oh my gosh, she's legit. She's going to help these. And you're right. She's doing this because if she stops and takes a breath and thinks about what really happened, she can't do it. She is truly an evil monster. And I'm going to go back around to CrimeCon with Summer Shiflett up on stage, and Nate Eaton, and that woman getting up there and saying, what happened in your family, Summer, to create these two, and this isn't what she said, these are my words, it's kind of like this, to create these two murderous monsters. There's something wrong with your family. Tell us what it is. And everybody booed this woman, but it's true. There is something, they created two monsters who would murder children and lie about it. And it was all about sex, and it was all about, in my opinion, Alex had a thing for his sister that was very inappropriate. It is so ugly and horrible. Am I up in the night again, Megan? I need your approval, Megan. That's all there is to it. You're gonna tell me if I'm crazy or not.
No, I don't think you're crazy. And I think that there are red flags there, right? We've talked about this before. Whether or not you believe something truly horrible happened between Lori and Alex, their relationship was not appropriate. It was not normal. And the problem is, when you're in it, you grow up in it, you think it is normal. And so it's really hard to look at it and say, there's something weird going on there. So that's why I think my family members and I disagree on some of these things, but I can 100% say I have brothers. I would never grab their body parts in any way. That's not like something that,
doing this with them. And
right, that's not something that most healthy families do or engage in. And there is that book. I always forget the name of it. I feel really terrible. It's the book that was written by the guy. Leah Sotilli wrote When the Moon Turns to Blood, and I think this was Doomsday Mom, and I forget the name of the author, which I feel terrible about because I would hate it if somebody knew my book but forgot my name. But he actually interviewed some of Lori's contemporaries, her high school friends. And one of her high school friends said that Lori broke down in tears, saying that Alex wanted to be with her in that way. I don't want to ignite the YouTube gods.
That's
and
okay. You
was
can.
just in tears about it and then never mentioned it again. So, it just, there's just so much that's harmful there. And when you're in the family and you want a parent's approval and everything, like I think Summer does, it's really difficult to look at it from a healthy way and say, yeah, there's something wrong there. I mean, look, it's just statistically such an anomaly that you're going to come up with 2 kids who turned out to be serial killers if there wasn't something deeply wrong in that family. And, I say this all the time, you can blame your parents until you're 25, and then it's your responsibility to go fix your own stuff, right?
Absolutely.
So if something bad did happen to the kids when they were younger, or if there was some unhealthy dynamic, something traumatic or whatever, we can understand why they might be a little messed up as adults, but then it is their responsibility to go and heal those wounds. It's our responsibility as adults to heal our emotional wounds so that we don't pass it on to our children. And when you don't do that, this is the kind of stuff that ends up happening.
That happens. Megan, can you stay just for a few more minutes? Because I do have one other question I want to talk to you about.
Sure.
But I do want to put up your channel here. It is, and we've been putting it up here. It is at @3_verse. And everybody, you've got to check out Megan's channel. I'm going to talk to you about your schedule and what you'll be doing. But first, as we talk about these horrible, terrible people, I want to tell you about good people at DNA Solves. People, oh, my friends, you have got to check this out. The wonderful, amazing people at DNA Solves, what they do, it's part of Othram. And I'm going to be playing a news story about what Othram has done recently, and it's another amazing accomplishment. But literally, what these people do, they're scientists and the most incredible researchers, and they will find, they'll have remains. Some of them might be 50 years old. Some of them may be 6 months old. But all of these people were loved by somebody. All of these people had families that wanted to find out what the hell happened to them. One day they were there, and the next minute they're gone. I can't even begin to imagine. So here's the scoop, my darling true crime angels. The people at DNA Solves, they need you to become what's called a subscriber. This is where you subscribe to DNASolves.com and make a monthly donation, because they have hundreds, if not thousands, of cases that need funding. Each one of these cases starts at $7,500. That's the cost to do the DNA testing and the research to find out where these people came from, who they are. That sometimes I have to go back, to the 12th cousin to try and find somebody. And I'm putting a link in chat, and it's also pinned at the top of chat. Whoops, I just screwed up. Hold on, guys, just a minute. It's also at the top of chat. But if you could please make a monthly donation to DNA Solves, you would be helping us and the wonderful people at DNA Solves, not to mention these poor families. You'll be helping them get the answers they deserve. And if you notice on our channel, we don't have any advertising. When you go to Websleuths.com, the big true crime discussion forum, all those obnoxious ads are gone. So we ask you, if you could please, if you enjoy what we do, if you could please become a monthly subscriber, 5, 10, whatever you can afford a month to DNA Solves. It would make a big difference in these people's lives. Okay, Megan Connor, you got a busy day tomorrow. Tell us what you're going to be doing tomorrow.
So tomorrow morning, I'm going to do some of the clips some similar ones that you guys played, but just the ones that I think are really important for people to understand. I'm going to do a full unpack for the people on my channel about the Nephi and Laban story. I might actually even read some Book of Mormon in a snarky tone.
Oh, cool.
And then court starts at 10:30. And so every day that I'm here, I'm going to be doing a little live recap during the lunch break. And then every day I will also be doing a recap at the end of trial. In addition, trying to juggle there's various news outlets that'll reach out to me from time to time. I'm going to try to be kind to myself and say no to some of those, but we'll see how that goes.
And I would completely understand if you said no to us when we ask you again, but please don't. I will cry. Just so you know.
I can't say no to you. I just can't. I've been on your channel in my Snuggie with no makeup on, so obviously I have trouble saying no to you.
Okay, and you can always come on with your Snuggie. Listen, go get some rest. Give Tom and his wife our very best.
I
You
will.
take care. Make sure you hydrate. Make sure you take your vitamins, and I'm very serious about that. Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. The channel for Megan Connor is at _verse, and we will see you tomorrow on YouTube. Megan Connor, thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
I really want Megan to go rest. I hope she does. I mean, she literally got up this morning and flew into Arizona to cover this trial, and she's going to be there all week. Now, next Monday, Lauren Matthias will be here from Hidden True Crime. Yay!
Awesome.
So, hey, Joe Neal, are you at the trial? If anybody's at the trial and they want to call in and talk to us, that'd be fantastic. But we will be covering the trial at night, just going through bits and pieces, not through the whole thing. So, and again, everybody, I do want to show one thing here real quickly. It's very important. All right. Here is, hold on, I want to get to the proper page. Here we go. This is the last page of the Lori Vallow Daybell discussion on Websleuths.com. You can join Websleuths. Just go to Websleuths.com and look in the upper right-hand corner. You'll see something that says register, and you register there. There, can you see it? See?
Yeah.
There are people posting 24/7 talking about the case. We have very strict rules. You can't be a jerk on Websleuths, so you can post there and not worry about people, being mean and awful. And our members are really, really good at making sure that people follow the rules. And really, the biggest rule is don't be a jerk. So anyway, like Megnut says, I'm not going to lie. I kind of want to see how the stun belt works. I agree. Okay, so I'm going to put this link. I may have to make it a tiny link because it might be too big. But anyway, we have tens of thousands of other true crime discussions going on. Let's see here. Is that too big? It might be too big. Just a minute. Nope, I think it made it. All right, very good. Hey, and I do want to play something for you about Othram. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now if I have it here, oh my gosh, where did it go? Oh, here it is. I do have it. Never mind. Let me share it here just a moment. Can you hear me chopping vegetables? Can you hear that noise?
Yes.
I'm sorry, guys. It's my mouse, and I've got a wooden thing here. I need to get a mouse pad. I'm sorry. I'm trying to be quiet. I'm trying to be very quiet. But anyway, this is about DNA solves. All right. And these wonderful people, and that's who you'll be donating to, Othram DNA Solves, when you become a subscriber to DNAsolves.com. And you're going to see here from Channel 7 in California what they have done. Here we go.
Tonight, with the technology changing Bay Area crime fighting, one lab is finding answers for families decades after their loved ones died. Good evening, I'm Amma Dates.
And I'm Dan Ashley. We're glad you're with us. They're on a crime-solving spree. 5 cases in just the last month, about 50 to 60 years old after they went cold. Since March, a Texas-based lab has worked with law enforcement to trace the names of 4 people found dead across Northern California, including a 13-year-old girl.
Just this week, they identified a Santa Cruz County woman's killer. ABC 7 News reporter Lauren Martinez explains how the lab is taking DNA to a whole new level.
DNA technology continues to crack decades-old crime mysteries. In the last 30 days, the company Othram has solved 5 California cases. 3 of them are from the Bay Area.
Cases don't have to go cold anymore. Cold cases are a thing of the past.
Director of Case Management Michael Vogan explains their technology can go a step further than what public crime labs are armed with. They compare DNA to databases to find relatives, crafting a much bigger family tree than other DNA labs can.
They send us the DNA, and instead of looking at 20 to 24 markers, we look at hundreds of thousands of markers, And with the additional data points, we can detect like a sixth cousin. And so all of a sudden there's a new roadmap, new investigative leads that are delivered.
The most recent case solved, Karen Persifield. Her sister told me over the phone her nickname was Cookie.
She was as sweet as she was beautiful.
In 1976, while visiting her sister in Aptos, she went out for a walk and never returned. Authorities say she was stabbed to death. The Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Office said Richard Somerhalder was a suspect, but there wasn't enough evidence to charge him. 4 months after Persifield's death, Somerhalder was arrested for murdering 2 other women in Santa Cruz County. He only served 8.5 years in prison before being paroled and moving out of state.
I don't understand how it all slipped through the cracks.
Somerhalder passed away in 1994, but through the forensic evidence the sheriff's office submitted to Othram, they were able to identify him as Persifield's killer. I spoke with her daughter, Meadow Shoemake, who lives in Washington. She was 6 years old when her mother was killed.
It's been a lifelong, obsession of mine to want to know what happened, why, and all that, and who.
Meadow, how does it feel to have this closure all of these years later?
Like I said, your mind wanders to far out places when you don't know the truth. And so it's like a bittersweet justice. I'm really happy for, there must be other people that, are going to feel the same way as me.
Othram is shifting from not only doing cold cases from decades ago, but now getting into modern casework. In the South Bay, Lauren Martinez, ABC 7 News.
That is our people. We love them. I love it. And again, throughout this year, you're going to be meeting people from Othram, and you're going to see just how incredibly amazing and dedicated they really, really are. Guys, I want to talk to you about the Thoris. You remember the Thoris, our wonderful friend who on Woo Woo Saturday night, she brought that picture that was creepy, and it had a human tooth in the frame. She is going through some medical issues. She's got bad COPD, bad emphysema. She said she got it from smoking. She's kicking herself for smoking, and she's going through some pretty troubling times. So everybody, if you could, whatever it is you do, if you prayer or talk to the universe or do a dance, whatever it is you do. I talk to the universe, and my animals think I'm crazy. I'm like, universe, come on, help these people out. But if you could just keep her in your thoughts, okay? Hopefully she'll be on soon, but she says she has a really hard time staying awake, and we're up late. So maybe we can have her on sometime and pre-record it. So anyway, she wanted me to pass that along and say hi to everybody, and she thinks of you all the time, and she loves you. Okay, I want to thank all of the great people, the beautiful humans. That's what Megan calls all of the people in her chat room, the beautiful humans. Thank you for coming over tonight and being with us. We really do appreciate it. And I want to thank our moderators. That would be Moonlight View, Leisha Gallegos, and Four Sons Mom, and Yuda. Ladies, thank you so much. And Stacy, who do we have on tomorrow? I think we have a guest, don't we?
Yes, tomorrow night we have Sean Cohen, the author of the book College Girl Missing, and he's going to come on to talk about the case of Lauren Spear, who is still missing and has not been found.
And that's going to be good. Plus, we'll have the latest in Lori's trial tomorrow.
Yes.
You guys, I really believe she's going to be zapped. I think she's going to just start losing it, especially when the judge won't allow her to call anybody because it's all hearsay. And she won't be able to present her case. She's going to get her mom up there and try and get her mom to say that she's going to have to lie and say that she witnessed Charles Vallow being violent, which we know will be a lie.
Yeah.
So,
But I hope she doesn't, because if she really legit loses it and starts seeing shit and talking to Jesus, that could be a mistrial.
Well, that could be, but you know what?
Yeah.
I'd almost, just to see her zapped. I mean, really, I have a bucket list. It's very small.
Yeah.
That's one of them. Just to see the judge or bailiff, whoever, just go zzz, and get her to shut the hell up. Oh, she's a disgusting human being.
Jenna, great comment.
I had to take a Xanax after the 20th. The evidence will show. Exactly. The evidence will show. The evidence will show. I think Megan is absolutely right. She got that from some TV show. Now, she does have a lawyer there, and I would assume while the person's on the stand, she can turn to her lawyer and say, can I ask this? Can I ask that? But I don't think she does. Now, maybe they will school her a little bit more today. Again, I think her arrogance in thinking that Jesus is on her side and that Jesus is with her, and she's probably thinking, I don't need help. Hopefully, after today, she will listen to her advisors and maybe think, well, maybe Jesus wants me to ask them for help. That's why he's not helping me. She'll come up with some crazy reason. So we'll see if she gets it a little bit more together tomorrow. And yeah, that poor judge. We should chip in and buy him some liquid Xanax. It'll come like in an IV bag
Oh yeah, that'll be really good.
for him. That poor guy. Honest to God, he needs to be sainted after this. I swear. Okay, so what the hell is your name, Stacy? Yeah. How you doing? You're doing good.
I'm doing
You okay,
good.
Stacy?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Anything new going on? Anything you need to report?
Oh my gosh, I had something earlier and now I forgot.
Uh-oh.
But I can't believe earlier when I brought up the trolley argument and you think of Star Trek.
I know. It's terrible.
What the heck? That's
It's
something I learned in philosophy in college and ethics.
but
And you think of Star Trek.
it's Mr. Spock. It is. I mean, what the hell? It's Mr. Spock, people.
It's so funny.
I love you guys. I love you, Stace. We'll talk to you tomorrow, everybody. Okay, don't forget to check out websleuths.com, the very best true crime discussion forum in the universe. And we'll see you tomorrow night, 10:30 Eastern on Websleuths YouTube Live. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.